Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Happy January 6th, the 5th year anniversary of the Fedsurrection. We're going to break the whole thing down today and go back through memory lane because we've got a bunch of new information that we've learned since Trump came in now coming to light. And we're going to go through and break it all down here today. So quick preview on what's coming up. Then we'll zoom in for further detail. But the White House dropped a hoax page exposing all of the lies and scandalous affairs that the J6 Select Committee imposed upon America when they were running their little scam. And they made a compendium over at whitehouse.gov that we'll read through today and refresh our recollection on just what a scam this whole thing was. And a bunch of other great clips are now recirculating. Everybody's posting the biggest clips that caused the most ruckus back when this all happened recently. And so we're going to break it down. We've got the actual website, which is right here, pointing the blame at Nancy Pelosi appropriately, and reaction from the new J6 Select Committee that is responding to the Democrat little patty cake game that they were playing today. They were holding unofficial fake hearings, just like their original illegally constituted fake hearings with the Liz Cheney prior Select Committee. And so we got the Select Subcommittee, the new one that they put in a closet back there with like one stapler and 15 staples. They're out there today responding to the continuation of the hoax. And you can see even Nancy Pelosi's there just waving her hands around like a lunatic. So we'll get into that. And then we'll remind ourselves that the CIA was involved in this. In fact, they had bomb techs and dog teams that were there on January 6th. Remember, Judicial Watch brought this to our attention over a year, almost 2 years ago. And we'll remind ourselves that the CIA was there. It's weird how they had bomb tech dogs and dog teams there to sniff out bombs, like pipe bombs and other things that they probably planted. But we'll go through that report, refresh our recollection, and hear from some of the J6ers themselves today, like one of our favorites out there, like Will Pope, who defended himself pro se and beat the pants off the DOJ, never got convicted of anything. And he's there today reminding us what went down and encouraging us to not forget the Fedsurrection that occurred. So all that coming up. Then we're going to talk about this fella right here. Remember Lieutenant Michael Byrd, the guy who left his gun in the stall in Congress at the Capitol building when he was taking a dookie? Then he left the gun there, got in trouble, all the things, and then ends up shooting and killing Ashli Babbitt. Well, apparently his wife was running a daycare. Oh, that's great. So we'll go through this. There are some, I would say, misinterpreted headlines out there saying that like he got $180 million or whatever it is from HHS. Don't think that's in evidence yet, but it's interesting that he was running a daycare because remember, we've seen some other stories here that they actually posted this dude up at the presidential palace. Remember this? When he was over at an Air Force base. And so we've got the documents here where they were paying for his dog and his whatever pet fee, maybe it's a cat, $10 fee, and was getting paid to stay on government housing after shooting and killing Ashli Babbitt on January 6th. So we'll go through that, refresh our recollection on it, and ask ourselves this question. Who is covered by the Joe Biden pardon? And is Lieutenant, now Captain, he got promoted after shooting and killing Ashli Babbitt. He then got promoted, and is he pardoned? Is he covered in this pardon? We'll find out. Then we're going to talk about a new set of files that just got dropped from Senator Rand Paul saying that an American and Catholic school teacher got attacked by the weaponized Biden administration under the FBI, DOJ, TSA. They put her on the no-fly list, and she was completely innocent. And this is a pretty scandalous affair because when we read through the documents here, 70 pages of them, we'll hit the highlights on it, they were targeting an innocent person. Oh, I know, it's shocking. But the question is, were these people and the other people like the Capitol Hill police officers who ultimately were tapping agents on the shoulder and telling them to let the protesters in, are they going to be prosecuted? Are they going to be held accountable? What the heck is going to happen? Kash Patel had a post about this today, and we'll hear from Enrique Tarrio himself, the former leader of the Proud Boys, who got sent to prison for over 20 years. So, going to be a great stream today. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here, and thank you for subscribing to our channel if you haven't already done that, because we want to see you again. We don't want this to be our one and only. Thank you for joining us. We also have a great members only community. We had a great live stream this morning. We actually heard from President Trump today deliver a burner to the House Republicans talking a lot about healthcare and getting their act together, basically. You know, it was a lot of fun, actually. So we did that this morning, and then we talked a little bit more about the Maduro stuff. We have an awesome members-only community. We do streams in the morning. We'd love to have you join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, or click the join button on YouTube, and we'll see you tomorrow on the members-only morning stream. But now, let's get into it. On the day, because we've got some good business to attend to here. The White House now crushing the January 6th hoax, posting this on the 5th anniversary, saying we got a new website for you that blames the appropriate people, not President Trump. They tried to create an entire narrative to destroy him so that he can never run again after they stole the election. And then they wanted to use this as a cudgel to impeach him to prevent him legally from ever running again. So political destruction, legal destruction. Of course, he has beaten both of those back. He's now the president again, so that didn't work out for him. But now Trump said this today. Thousands of Americans paid the price for failures they didn't create. President Trump delivered pardons. Pelosi admitted responsibility, and the media lied. Now we've got the real story that is queued up. And we're learning a lot. We now got the J6 pipe bomber, allegedly, who's been arrested. And we're asking ourselves, sound like Jasmine Crockett there, we're asking ourselves whether or not this evidence corroborates other evidence. For example, why was the CIA there with dog sniffing teams to sniff out bombs if they were just not expecting any pipe bombs? Or maybe they planted the pipe bombs and had the dogs ready to go find that there was going to be an explosion. It was very convenient for them because they wanted to cause this to happen. John Brennan and the rest of them who were, still connected with the CIA were engineering a Fedsurrection to prevent a political takeover. Now, we'll go through that, but the White House posted this. They said, all right, listen, rewinding the clock, President Trump took decisive action. Pardon the J6ers. They were unfairly targeted and attacked, and they were punished over and to cover incompetence. And that's like being generous. It's not just incompetence, it's maliciousness. On his first day back in office, Trump pardoned the J6ers. We were very happy about that, commuted sentences for others, and ordered the immediate release because they were under attack from the Democratic Party. Now, since January 6, 2021, Nancy Pelosi spent over 3 years and nearly $20 million in taxpayer funds on her partisan select committee. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, man. They spent, think about all the media. Remember Fannie Willis was like, Fannie Willis alone in one case, which was a part of the fallout of January 6th, was almost a billion dollars. I think she accounted for like $600 million or something of earned media from latching onto this stolen election, insurrection. Trump's going to steal the country. All of it used as political weaponry against him for the entirety of the campaign. Now, since J6, and that's $20 million, it's like the damage was in the media. The media then took all the clips and just beat us over the head for years with it. In taxpayer funds for her partisan committee, she had a scripted TV spectacle, fabricated an insurrection narrative, and pinned all the blame on Trump, and then prosecuted his top deputies. Now, video and audio recordings, including unaired HBO footage from her daughter, show Nancy Pelosi repeatedly acknowledge responsibility for the catastrophic security failures, even admitting that, quote, we have totally failed, and, quote, I take full responsibility for not having the National Guard deployed. Despite intelligence warnings and Trump's offer to send the troops there, she ignored all of those things. That's not just the president saying it. Stephen Sund wrote about it in his book. Former Capitol Hill chief of police. Now, the Democrats masterfully, and they did this, and the Republicans were such pathetic cowards. A couple of Republicans stood by Trump like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but others were just like, we were attacked by MAGA. And reversed reality, the Democrats did. After January 6th, they branded peaceful, patriotic protesters as insurrectionists and framed the event as a violent coup attempt to overthrow the government orchestrated by Trump. No evidence of armed rebellion, no intent to overthrow the government. In fact, it was the Democrats. They're the ones who staged the real insurrection. They certified a fraud-ridden election. They used COVID to literally change the election rules. Fannie Willis in Fulton County had a water main break at midnight in Fulton County, had to stop counting the votes, picked it up later, and whoa, suddenly Joe Biden has 11,000 votes. Weird. Weaponized federal agencies. They hunted down dissenters. We had Anthony Blinken, Joe Biden's person, colluding with the CIA and the FBI And Michael Morell, the former CIA director, to create talking points for Joe Biden that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian collusion, was Russian disinformation. The CIA was colluding with the Biden campaign to rig the election. Mike Morell talked about this in testimony to Congress. We've read it here many times on the channel. Now, it was the Democrats who did this. They also covered up the Hunter Biden laptop letter. They had the FBI running engineering meetings with Facebook and the social media companies, essentially running war games saying, oh, if this happens, it will be Russian disinformation. Then it did happen. Twitter censored it. Facebook censored it. Google censored it. Anyone talking about it was labeled misinfo and disinfo and Russian hacks. So all of this was done. They ignored widespread irregularities that we all pointed out for a long time. They weaponized the agencies, and even Pelosi, her own security lapses, invited the chaos. She was responsible for this. Now, this gaslighting narrative allowed them to persecute innocent Americans, to silence their opposition, and to distract from their own role in undermining democracy. And the White House posted this, whitehouse.gov/J6 today. Watch this one from Nancy Pelosi. I take responsibility.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
Because you rejected them?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, that is not a question of how they had been. They don't know.
Pull your mask up.
They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility
Pull it up.
for not having them just prepare for more.
All right, so that's her. And let me play that one more time because I think I had a little bit of a false start there.
We have responsibility, Terry.
There we go. We have responsibility. It's your building. Trump can't send the National Guard into your congressional realm. They would say he's taken over the country. Could you imagine if Trump said, all right, we're deploying 10,000 troops to descend upon Congress? They would melt down. In fact, they were already doing that pre-election. They were already saying no National Guard. Mayor Muriel Bowser was responding to, I think it was Secretary Christopher Miller, saying, we don't need your guard. We already read the letter here 100 times. And how come? Because they were concerned that Trump was going to take over the government. Then once they're left completely flat-footed, or rather they wanted this to happen, then she throws the pounding of the table, right? That's Pelosi. Now just banging the drums. Okay, because she has to be upset about something because she completely failed. So when you fail, you just start screaming about things, which is what her strategy is. So they then recall all of the other various components of what went down on that day. Remember this. Trump invited Americans to D.C., and that was before January 6th. They have a timeline for us right here. Pre-January 6th, President Trump invited America to come and join him in objecting to our rigged and stolen election, which we covered at length here. Then Trump delivered a powerful speech. Upon that podium, he said, we're going to go down to the Capitol, where we will peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. Stresses the need we got to fight for free and fair elections. Then the Patriots marched down to the Capitol. That happened at about 1 to 1:30 p.m. Then what happened next is Capitol Police are firing tear gas, flashbangs, rubber munitions into the crowds of the peaceful protesters. People like Shawnee Kirkhoff, the former Capitol Hill police officer who's now over at the CIA as a security guard, she was up there on the balcony blasting fools in the head and in the mouth, creating huge fractures in people's faces. And video evidence shows this happening all over the place. Cops removing barricades, waving attendees inside the building, by the way, actions that facilitated the entry, all while simultaneously deploying violent force against others. These inconsistent and provocative tactics turned a peaceful demonstration into chaos. And we got a couple of clips on this one. Now, first, here was the president, of course, saying peacefully and patriotically that they clipped out all of the news reports, and they just had the other, fight like hell kind of statements that they used completely dishonestly. The BBC's being sued for like billions of dollars now. They didn't want this message to be heard.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. I know.
Wow, yeah, and they cut that out because they're liars and hacks, and they just selectively edited to rig the narrative. Now, we also saw this one. This is one of my favorite clips that I think deserves a lot more attention than it's ever gotten from our Congress people. But here, this came from our archives. We played this one many times before, but I don't know if I posted it on X, so we did just for posterity. But this is the scene, right, that we've seen many times or talked about here several times, where this cop comes up. You've got all these peaceful protesters who are standing here peacefully. They're not attacking the cops. They're at the door saying, hey, we're here to protest. And by the way, protests happen all the time in America. We see the pink-haired, vagina hat people all over the place with their, sit-in protest many times over. We've talked about it, as violent or more violent in many instances where the cops just let them in, okay? The cops aren't shooting flashbangs at them and popping their faces off. So this was one cop here on the other side, Upper West Terrace on the exterior. You can see this camera is showing us one angle and they're kind of crisscrossing. So they're going to be let in essentially. And as soon as they're let in, boom, criminal trespass. Oh no, parading around in the Capitol. And watch these cops. Okay, so this cop right here taps this cop on the shoulder, whispers something in his ear. Then he taps this other cop on the shoulder and they all just stand down, stand by, right? It was a stand down order. And then they all just come marching in, all of them being charged with crimes now. Here's how this one went down. Whisper. Hey man, we're ordered to stand down or something. Okay, who was that? Who were those three cops? I don't know. I'm sure somebody does. Who gave the order to that larger fella who then told the other fella that we're letting him in? Where'd that communication come from? How did it reach this point? What is the chain of custody of that message? So let me shut up and just play this and without pausing it repeatedly so you can get a full picture of it. Whisper. Okay, we're leaving now. Pulls him, taps the other guy, let him in. Okay. Then we see they start marching in. Cops turn around. Here, let me hold the door open for you. Here, let me get that for you. All right. Right this way. Come on in. So then they start piling in, right? And now these people are all being invited in. Every person, like, look at this lady. Wow, look at that with her cell phone. She's probably going to try to, I guess, steal the Constitution like Nicolas Cage in The Lost Treasure or whatever that was. Okay, look at her. Wow, what a monster. Taking pictures. And all of them are just invited in, one after another. Boom. Insurrectionist, 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 insurrectionist. All criminal trespass, all parading around in the Capitol. I don't know why Nancy Pelosi and Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson and Adam Kinzinger and the rest of them didn't answer those questions for us. Who gave that order to stand down and let everybody in? Why was that order given? Yeah, maybe if they would have just stood there, they would have just stood there and they all wouldn't have gotten invited into the Capitol, entrapped, and then suddenly charged with federal crimes and have their entire lives destroyed because these cops let them in. So that is what we were dealing with. And we also saw that our friend Will Pope has been amazing on this case. If you're not following Will Pope, you should be. He's over at Free State Will on X. We've talked about him a lot over this entire saga. And he was representing himself in the defense of the charges brought against him for being there, objecting to a rigged election. And if we have any doubts about who was in the crowd, well, he clears it up for us. He says those claiming that there were no undercovers incited the crowd on J6 are wacko conspiracy theorists, okay? They're out of their minds. He posted this back in 2023, by the way. Officer Tomasula's GoPro video shows him repeatedly urging people up the steps into the Capitol. Detectives Leva and Callahan, they went up too. They were meeting with people. And like the Proud Boys all in the scene. He walks through this methodically. Video recorded by Tomasula and Leva remains sealed by the court. Why are all these videos sealed? Oh, well, those are investigative resources, and we don't disclose sources and methods. Okay, yeah, we know. Because you guys were there cheering them into the Capitol. We saw Ray Epps here many times over. Into the Capitol the night before, goading people. Then the day of, repeatedly telling people, we're going inside, turn left, don't listen to those people. This is the way to go, right? Directing people. He then got a virtual telephonic plea deal for a misdemeanor, right? And you just ask yourself, that's interesting because Ray Epps was a former member of the Oath Keepers. Weird. We played videos on this channel of Ray Epps walking down the street with Stuart Rhodes in Arizona, playing bagpipes for a fallen fellow. Nonstop. So this was another time, another undercover was there, another undercover right there, and Will Pope found him. So here he is marching into the Capitol. Can we get some information from the FBI and the DOJ about the total number of federal agents that were there? Capitol Hill Police, human, CHSs, confidential human sources, whatever other category that's even remotely related to that. We'd like to know the full number, because we covered the Proud Boy trial here, and we heard from the defense. They identified 50 people that were in proximity of just the Proud Boys. They couldn't introduce that as evidence because the judge said, sorry, they're not from the FBI. They're from Homeland Security. So here's more from Will Pope, and he's got a bunch of posts up today. He's filed a bunch of another officer. There were prosecutors in the crowd. All of it was archived. We still have basically no answers about any of it. And it's disgusting what they did. It was a Fedsurrection. They were everywhere. And now we are seeing and reminding ourselves that we have the pipe bomber, allegedly, who's now been wrapped up. We've got Brian Cole Jr. charged with dropping 2 pipe bombs, one at the RNC, one at the DNC. And Judicial Watch, if we recall, says that the CIA happened to be there. Very interesting. They posted this one about 2 years ago, March 13th, 2024, but you may have missed it with all the news. Judicial Watch said that they got 88 pages of info from ATF and records from a FOIA request that show that the CIA deployed personnel to DC on January 6th. Weird, because the most recent allegation was that the real pipe bomber was a woman who's now working at the CIA. Isn't that convenient? So Judicial Watch forced the release of these records through a lawsuit and got them disclosed over from ATF. And in it, there's a series of text messages under the heading called January 7th Intel Chain, in which 2 separate references to participation by the CIA are made. One states, 2 CIA bomb techs are assisting with a pipe bomb scene on New Jersey and D Street. Another references several CIA dog teams on standby. Wild, right? So the CIA just has some operative, theoretically, drop the bombs off, and then they come as the cops, right? So they're on both ends of it. So then they can say, oh, well, you can't find the person who dropped the bombs off, but we're there to figure out, just to cover up any problems that might identify them. You've seen that in the TV shows, like when the coroner who comes to analyze the crime scene is actually the murderer, right? Coroner comes, how was this guy murdered? He says, well, based on what I'm seeing here, this was a suicide. And you go, oh, no, actually that guy killed him, but he's making the determination on what the outcome is. So CIA comes, oh yeah, definitely, we didn't plant these things. Can do whatever the hell they want with the evidence. They're the CIA. What the hell do they care? They were rigging the election anyways, by the way, with Mike Morrell, ex-CIA director, in testimony to Congress said, we wanted Biden to win. Literally admitted that. The brazenness was shocking. We read through the whole thing here. And then communicated to Congress that they helped them. So why wouldn't the CIA also support a cover-up of the pipe bombs? Makes total sense to me. Now, group texts contain a 4 p.m. hour message by persons whose names are redacted about 2 explosive devices. Train traffic is stopped. It appears that the power plant is unfounded. Upper West Terrace of the Capitol breached by protesters. Capitol Police is sending out a mutual aid request. Protesters are cutting tarp at the bottom of scaffolding and moving through that. 2 explosive devices at the DNC, 1 at RNC, 1 at DNC. Then the intel chain also reports Ashli Babbitt, shots fired, house floor. 1 civilian down. Lieutenant Byrd shot and killed her. No warnings. Gunshot victim has been extracted. Shooting was officer involved. Then a separate series of texts come out. And in those, in the 2 p.m. hour, one of the texts says, West Terrace has been breached. Redacted. The West Terrace has been breached. This is what we call emotive conjugation. You can say somebody went home or somebody fled the scene. You could say that Maduro was arrested or Maduro was kidnapped. Here they're saying the West Terrace has been breached. As we just played, this was the Upper West Terrace. Is this the one that they're talking about that was breached? Does that look like a breach to you? When these people are invited into the Capitol, they walk into the building. Breach. They breach the building. Okay. So you can see exactly how they talk about these things. Then someone says, Capitol PD shot someone dead on the House floor. VP stuck inside. Someone says, Christ, what was the final in the devices, real or not? Question, were those pipe bombs real or not? Clearing Capitol now with bomb techs, lots of damage. Damn, that's scary, so sad. Thanks for keeping me in the loop, brother. I was able to go to my team and the director before they heard it from outside sources. Now, the intel chain also reports that members of Congress are being evacuated to Fort McNair, 2 miles south of the Capitol, alternate locations so they can continue their work. In more text messages that Judicial Watch dug up, more redacted sources say, command post is at Jersey and D Street. 3 additional recipients are added to the text group. Someone says, just made contact with the FBI. They're reporting 3 possible devices for a total of 5 now. A response follows. Do you have the location of the other devices? Someone says, not yet. FBI is going to pass it on. I believe one is located at the gates to the power plant. The next states LEOs are being attacked on the west side of the Capitol with pieces of the restraining fence. Some officers injured. Now, these striking records from the CIA, said Tom Fitton, show that CIA resources were deployed to this J6 event. The same CIA that was covering up for the Hunter Biden laptop, the same CIA that was racing through intelligence through the CIA approval board. Okay, they basically had this new report that was Russian disinfo. The laptop was Russian disinfo. They needed to deliver that to the Biden campaign. So they raced out this report, all the hallmarks, right? The 51 laptop letter, all the hallmarks of a Russian, race it through the CIA. They approve it, put their stamp on it. Mike Morrell signs it, who's still a contractor with the CIA. And apparently they were using CIA facilities to sit there and type up the report. So the CIA was involved in this. In the election, and they're involved in the pipe bombs. How convenient. So then Judicial Watch sued. They wanted to get stuff from the Ashli Babbit case. And there were more emails that there was a ton of warnings about this. Then the prosecution decided they're not going to charge Lieutenant Byrd, who shot and killed Ashli Babbitt. And so the case goes on and on and on. But we've also seen that we have reaction to what the Democrats were doing today. Democrats in Congress, like Nancy Pelosi and the rest of these goobers, were there, waving their fist in the air, trying to turn this into something. Kind of a lot of their, Epstein energy and momentum all fizzled out when they realized that they're caught up in the files everywhere. Like, oh crap, that sucks. So then they have to go back to January 6th. Like they got nothing else to talk about. Their alternative is to defend Maduro. So they had to do these little things. It's like a circus. So Nancy Pelosi came out, and here is what she said. The select committee was responding to it. Here's Nancy, crazy Nancy today. I don't know if she's drunk or not. Let's listen.
Saw on TV that he was claiming that we did not ask for the National Guard. For over 3 hours, we begged him to send the National Guard. Saw on TV.
Okay, probably drunk, a little bit sounding, like intoxication there. But select subcommittee said, no, that's not true at all. As Speaker, Pelosi controlled House operations and security on the House side of the Capitol. If she wanted the National Guard there, they would have been there, by the way. And so the select committee was responding to a lot of this. And here was another one. We've got a couple of clips, but there was the one where he kind of walked us through a couple of these posts here from the select subcommittee. Says, is the Capitol Police Board in close contact with the Speaker of the House? Yeah, Gemini answered this, said, yeah, the Capitol Police Board is in close contact with the Speaker of the House. How does the chain of command work? There's a House Sergeant at Arms who reports to the Speaker. Then the police interface with them. A key member of the board who directs and directly interacts with the Speaker is the Sergeant at Arms. Then the Capitol Hill Police reports to the board for oversight. Now, while the board and the House and Senate Sergeant at Arms and the architect of the Capitol, they oversee the police, the Speaker's influence is felt via the Sergeant at Arms. And the real way the National Guard went down is exactly like this. The National Guard on 12/31, this was 2020, Mayor Bowser requested the National Guard. She wants some traffic management at this time. So then Trump agrees with Chris Miller. He's the acting Secretary of the Army at the time, to activate the National Guard to support law enforcement. Then Capitol Hill Chief of Police Stephen Sund, back on 1/3, asked the Senate Sergeant at Arms and the House Sergeant at Arms, the Capitol Police Board, for the National Guard, but he's denied. The Chief of Police of the Capitol Police says, can we have them? They say, no, you can't. Why? We saw it. They said Trump was going to take over the country if the National Guard is deployed. And Stephen Sund wrote a whole book about this. It's great. Now, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows offers Mayor Bowser 10,000 National Guard, but later sends a letter to the DOD saying, I don't want the National Guard. We've read Mayor Muriel Bowser's letter. We don't need your resources. We got it figured out. Then on 1/5, Trump again calls Secretary Miller, offers another 10,000 troops, denied repeatedly because they wanted it to happen. Then they turn around and blame Trump for the whole thing, which is part of their entire operation. So we got Troy Niels. He says, I'm on the new J6 Select Committee. He's a congressman. He said, as a member of this committee, I am committed to following the facts to deliver the truth to the American people. Nancy Pelosi, Benny Thompson, Liz Cheney, and Adam Kinzinger, along with every other member of the partisan January 6th Select Committee, which was illegally constituted, by the way. It was passed in H.R. 503 under a House resolution. It said it needed to have, I believe it was 13 total members, if the numbers are right, 8 Democrats, 5 Republicans. They didn't do that. They just made it 9. Literally, the legislation says 13. They said, nope, 9. Had to have a minority body, right? A Republican body, like any other congressional committee that you can have alternate sides presenting opposite sides of the cases, like a prosecution and a defense. In this case, the Republicans could have been the defenders if they had a minority party. It's all in the bill, all in the resolution. We've read it. Pelosi didn't care. She didn't want Kevin McCarthy's picks. So she said, I'm just going to hold this illegally constituted committee anyways. And she appointed Kinzinger and Cheney to be the Republicans and called it bipartisan. It was the biggest scam. I mean, we got the whole thing was basically thieved away from us, and the media didn't even bat an eye. And the courts looked the other way too, because they said separation of powers. It was a scam through and through. Illegal. Now, their select committee wasn't about transparency or the truth. It was a political theater. My colleagues and I are focused on uncovering the truth and following the facts wherever they lead. I look forward to continue working with my colleagues to deliver a long-deserved answers to the American people, man, and to setting the record straight about what truly happened that day, the days leading up to J6, and the days that followed. And man, we hope they get some answers on this. And so Will Pope, as I mentioned, who's been digging on in this case since he got charged, since the very beginning, is there today paying homage to the Fedsurrection. He said, on my tour of the Fedsurrection, I just visited the Capitol steps where undercover officer Tomasula, who we just referenced his thread from 23, repeatedly urged the protesters to advance up and even pushing them forward into the Capitol building. We can never forget the Fedsurrection. And so here is our friend Will Pope out there at the Capitol posting this one today on the 5th anniversary of the Fedsurrection.
All right, I'm now on the west side of the Capitol, and right over here behind me are the stairs that undercover officer Nicholas Tomasula repeatedly urged people to go up. In fact, he physically put his hands on them, pushing them forward. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Of course, he filmed it all on his GoPro. About halfway up the steps, he met Phi Duong, who he would later introduce to an undercover FBI agent who would try to entrap him to make explosives. But really a sad situation. In fact, Phi Duong was the J6er that got raided by FBI agent Baker Dowdy, who was in the crowd here at the Capitol on January 6th. We can never forget the January 6th Fedsurrection, which is why I'm back here today, 5 years later.
Awesome, man. Great work from Will Pope. And honestly, I don't know why he has not been hired by the DOJ and the FBI. But we know why. Because he would have the wherewithal to connect the dots in a way that might make a lot of people who are still in there very, very uncomfortable. And so we'd like to see an offer extended to him and others who have been at the forefront of battling back against this abuse. We'll see if anything like that happens. But the White House and the evidence that has been compounding over the years is now showing that this hoax was a hoax. And I think as time goes by, it's going to be even more clear, more and more clear. Once we learn more, maybe from Maduro and his director of intelligence, about the stolen software that was being deployed, about the corrupt Congress people who are all bought and paid for by foreign interest, and by the rigged vouching election systems that we have, where in Minnesota, you can bring as many people as you want and just vouch for them that they're great voters. Actually, not as many as you want, only 8. Sorry, there's a limit to that. Can't bring a whole school bus, only 8 of them, just so like a van. But here, we're going to keep our eye on this one. Obviously, we demand accountability, and hopefully we get it soon. Now, we're not done yet. Lots more to go here because we've got this very interesting story. Internet sleuths discovering another family daycare. Look at this one. Byrd's Family Daycare. Wow. 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it sounds like a nice place. A year-round home based in Bradyvine, Maryland. Their daycare program is run by Kaleska Byrd, who has 6 years of child experience. And they're open Wide hours, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. They'll handle any type of kid you got, 6 weeks up to 12 years, including children with special needs. And you might ask yourself, well, who is Caliska Byrd? Well, internet sleuths have dug into this, and they found that it is the wife of this fella. Former Capitol Police officer called Michael Byrd, the guy who shot and killed Ashli Babbitt, is married to Caliska, and apparently their family business is a child care facility, which is curious because we've seen all of the fraud in other child care facilities all throughout the country. Now, he reportedly got funding from Maryland taxpayers, and a lot of this, or maybe American taxpayers through HHS, paying into Maryland's coffers, who then pay for healthcare services for other people. But this story, of course, is still being investigated, and people are trying to dig into that to find, is the business even legitimate? Is it accredited? Are they also like the Somali fraudsters out there? Or is it a legitimate daycare business? We don't really know. But we do know that this family has gotten really, really fat and enjoyable off the American taxpayer, because when Ashli Babbitt was ultimately shot and killed by this cop right here, this is the same cop who we talked about, got in trouble after leaving his gun in the Capitol Hill public bathroom, went in there to take a, and then left his gun there. And of course, that could mean a public tourist could come in, grab the gun, and start blasting off in the middle of the Capitol building. Not good. But Byrd got a promotion after shooting and killing Ashli Babbitt. And he also got ensconced in the Presidential Inn, and the taxpayers paid for his residence on an Army base for quite some time. So the sleuths are digging into this, and they found that the business apparently is not accredited. And that's curious, right? We don't even know if it's operational, but here was more accreditation. No. And this was the archived page. So they say, we are also have a before and after school care for children up to 12 years old. If needed, transportation can be arranged. We provide meals, offer a peanut and tree nut free environment. And at a minimum, our teachers have a bachelor's degree. So to learn more, please send us an email and contact Caliska Byrd. They say the licensing status was checked when this was created, and apparently it's not accredited. So we don't really know what the nature of this daycare center is, but it's very convenient for another daycare facility to pop up from a grifting, murderous former Capitol Hill police officer. And recall that Judicial Watch got their hands on other records. After Ashli Babbitt was murdered, in my opinion, we then saw that they took this dude, plucked him out of DC, and put him in the Distinguished Visitor Suite at Joint Base Andrews at a place called the Presidential Inn. Distinguished Visitor Suite, after you, in my opinion, murder a person. So here, Air Force records also recovered by Judicial Watch. We'll take a look at them, and they have been on this for a long time. Records came after a September 2022 FOIA request, and we learned that he was in the Distinguished Visitor Suite at the Presidential Inn. Wow. That sounds like a nice place. The Presidential Inn. Presidential Inn. I wonder if there's any pictures of that. We're looking it up if I can type appropriately. Joint Base Andrews Air Force Inn. Okay. All right. Here's just some Air Force Inns over here. Joint Base Andrews. DODlodging.net. Looks like a nice campus. Here's the location. Joint Base Andrews. Pet friendly. There's a golf course on there. Oh my goodness. There's a CPO club. I don't even know what that is. That sounds great. There's an officer club. There's a restaurant. Area attractions right in DC. Goes to the White House, Capitol, the Smithsonian. Man, I was just in DC. It's very expensive out there. So he was living right there for free. Rooms may be used for higher priority lodging guests. In event the guests are having to be off base, doesn't apply to us. All right, so it looks pretty nice. And I don't know that we're going to get any real detailed pictures of the actual location where he stayed, but that's where they put him. So they posted him up over there, and Judicial Watch explains that they were informed by representatives that the Distinguished Visitor Suite, once you shoot and murder an insurrectionist, is typically reserved for officers at a rank of 07 Brigadier General or higher, but not this guy. So we got emails. In an April 2021 email from the assistant hotel manager, it indicates that Capitol Police had been paying his bills by phone every 10 days. So the Capitol Hill Police was paying for these things All of it coming courtesy of the American taxpayer. And the documents are detailed here, so you can see exactly what they paid for. And the Department of Air Force responded to Judicial Watch. They said, oh gosh, they're poking around here. They want some questions about where this guy is living because he's so under attack from MAGA. So they say, all right, dear Judicial Watch, here are the records related to the billeting of Capitol Police Michael Byrd, Lieutenant, at Joint Base Andrews, and all of our logs, visitor logs, electronic communications, DOJ official things. We've reviewed 31 pages. We're giving you some things. There are some exemptions. That's the cover sheet. Here's what we got inside. Boom, at the Presidential Inn. Man, that sounds nice. Joint Base Andrews, right there in Maryland, right outside D.C. Says, okay, the visa payment came in. So guess who paid that? You think Michael Byrd paid for his housing? No, he didn't. He did not. Capitol Police paid that. Pet fee, so he brought some animal with him. What do you think, dog or a cat? I don't know. So he brings the animal, stays a bunch of nights, $158 a night. Looks like a, nice low rate. Bunch of pet fees, room fees, goes on and on and on. And he's paid. There you go. And let's just look at the dates on these. Yeah, so a lot of September dates. Then we get into some October dates. So a couple months. Then we get into November dates and July. So we got July dates, bunch of Julys there. And then the emails come out. Good afternoon. Per our conversation, we got Capitol Police. I'm sorry, this is the Presidential Inn. So they're emailing the Capitol Police. They say from the base to Capitol Police, reservation information. And they're just basically doing it, it looks like, every few weeks. So pet fees, reservation numbers, and then the emails go out. Lodge manager says, I wanted to update you on Michael's reservation. Here's the number. We've got over a month here, $158 a night, $10 pet fee. Please let me know if you want a more permanent solution. We don't know how long he's going to be here, but then you see emails from the Capitol Police. Okay, so fast forwarding says, we're moving a couple things around. The rate changed a little bit. Then another one for a U.S. Capitol Police guest. Somebody says, hey, thanks for the statements. I don't remember the Capitol Police. I don't remember the room rate increasing. What happened? There's a $26 charge. Assistant manager sends some more. Accounting officer from the Capitol Police responds, okay, please email to me a cumulative detailed statement for your guest who has been lodging there since early July. That email came out in November. So from July to November, he was just shored up in there, living lavish, daily golf rounds on an Air Force base. Please see the requested folio with the detailed notes. The picture is a sundry items that were used in the room that were not paid for before the guest left. The guest checked out on 1/28/22 based on our door reading. The picture is the sundry items that were used in the room that were not paid for before he left. So he just drank out of all the bottles out of the minibar? On his way out, he's like, I'm out of here. Just guzzles everything, just cleans out the refrigerator, all the snacks, like $8. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Rude, man, rude. Has he checked out? If so, when did he leave? I'd like a paid single PDF file if possible for the date of the checkout. Then they are still communicating. No, these were charges for the room. These were the credits for those nights. The first 3 are positive, last 3 are negative. There's a debit. Sorry if this can be confusing, but this is how it broke down. Okay, so the hotel is charging the police. He says, now they're fighting over the rates. And a pet fee? Are you charging us or not? I asked because in reviewing the statement, it's clear that your green shaded amounts, I see 3 charges. Is this actually, it's too expensive. Okay. It's nice that he's quibbling over the rates because, we're paying for it. So it's nice he's wanting to get his money's worth. But that's what we saw. So they posted him up over there. So he's been on the taxpayer teat for a long time. We'll see if the daycare has any nexus with that at all. But there was some other reporting about Michael Byrd getting like $100 million from HHS. I've seen some headlines about that. I didn't see any actual evidence to corroborate that. I think that number, that $100 million number, was to Maryland. And so whether his daycare also was doing the same thing that all the other daycares, I don't know if they were leering some kids up there or not, or what they were doing, but it will be interesting to see. And it's not far off to think that there's maybe some more fraud going on there, but we'll see. Now, the question has come out, What can we do about these people who shoot and kill protesters? Can they be charged with a crime? Of course, we know that there was an investigation into Michael Byrd, and they said no. A memorandum came out. He was acting in, lawful action, self-defense, and execution of the law. So he's allowed to shoot and kill Ashli Babbitt. But there's also a lot of reporting out there that Michael Byrd was pardoned by Joe Biden. I don't think that's exactly right. So if there is a possibility of bringing charges, you could bring them against Michael Byrd theoretically if there is no pardon. And Reuters is confirming that they're thinking that he was not pardoned. Fact check, Capitol Police officer who shot dead J6 protester, her name is Ashli Babbitt, was not pardoned by Biden. They posted that back February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2025, earlier this year. And of course, that's interesting, right? Because PolitiFact says the same. Former President Joe Biden pardoned Michael Byrd. No, he didn't. Says, no, he didn't pardon him. We have not seen any official pardon. And in fact, looking at the pardon itself that Joe Biden auto-penned out of his office, whether he did it or not is to be seen. We doubt it. But here, Joe Biden, this was the official pardon. Pardons by powers of the presidency the members of Congress who served on the select committee to investigate the Capitol attack. So Cheney, Kinzinger, Fishing Benny Thompson, all the rest of them, they're all covered. Shifty Schiff. Now, the staff to the select committee also covered. They're all pardoned. And the Metro police officers from the DC Metro Police Department or the Capitol Police who testified before the select committee. And Lieutenant Byrd, as far as we're aware, did not testify before the select committee. It was just those 4 other dorks. So for any offenses here, in testimony whereof, blah, 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 signed here by Otto Penn, Joe Biden, the brain dead president of America. So done in Washington, January 19th, right around the same time he pardoned his crackhead son. So that's Joe. So if there is no pardon for Lieutenant Byrd, maybe there can be consequences for him for shooting and killing Ashli Babbitt. Of course, we'll see. Now, today, out at the Capitol, we had the mom of Ashli Babbitt called Mickey Withoft, who was out there today speaking on behalf of her deceased daughter. May she rest in peace.
5 years ago, the American people knew an election was stolen from them, and the brave men and women behind us, as well as my daughter, showed up to have their voices heard and make it clear that we knew the election was stolen from us. As a result, Ashli was shot without warning, and many people were put in jail and are still continue to be persecuted to this day. People from the mainstream media, somebody in particular I'm thinking of, but I don't want to say his name and give him any more credit, continue to call these people insurrectionists. And I just, the American people were attacked by the police that day. My daughter was shot by a police officer who had a disciplinary record that dates back decades. And in any other police force, he would have been fired, not promoted. He's been protected. He's been honored. He's got raises. He's benefited both professionally and financially from the death of my daughter. So I want to see Michael Leroy Byrd held accountable, as well as Lila Morris, who ended the life of Roseanne Boylan.
Nice.
Then the mainstream media went on to tell lies about both my daughter and Roseanne.
Yeah, they did.
My daughter was a decorated war veteran. She served 4 tours of duty in the Middle East and served this country her whole young life. So I love Ashli. I miss Ashli every single day. And I appreciate everybody who remembers her and says her name. Also, I would not be able to leave today without saying, free Tina Peters.
Shout out.
She's our sister. Our sister, who is still in jail, despite the fact she too has been pardoned by the President of the United States. Tina Peters did her job, and she suffers to this day because of it. So free Tina Peters. Remember Ashli Babbitt, Roseanne Boylan, Kevin Greason, and Benjamin Phillips. God bless you. God bless America. And thank everybody for being here.
Man, shout out. Strong mama right there. So prayers up for her. Prayers up for Ashli and everybody who has been victimized by our disgusting government, who is still trying to hide from true accountability. Michael Byrd, instead of getting proper scrutiny, was posted up at the Presidential Inn for months and then apparently ransacked the room on the way out because he hadn't stolen enough already, in our opinion. Now, of course, we will continue to keep our eye on this one. We'll see if the FBI, the DOJ, now that we are pretty clear that he wasn't pardoned, deliver accountability for Ashli Babbitt's mama and that the people who did this are held accountable. Now, we're not done yet. We got even more J6, essentially bombshells to talk about, including this one from Rand Paul. Biden FBI busted again. Rand Paul dropping this one, releasing new files showing that the Biden administration went after a completely innocent American and Catholic school teacher, saying that they targeted her, even though there was clear evidence she was not implicated in any way, shape, or form, because they needed to accomplish a political narrative. Round up as many people as possible. Even the people they tapped in the shoulder and invited into the Capitol, they all had to be insurrectionists. And the FBI and the DOJ needed to be unleashed on their political enemies. They took full advantage of it. So Rand dropped this today, and there are some interesting documents inside. He gives us a great report about this woman who was targeted, put on the no-fly list, and abused for years. And the question, of course, is this. If the DOJ, if the FBI, who are the law enforcement agents, are going to run roughshod over the rules and people's constitutional rights, shouldn't they at least be checked by the prosecutors? The prosecutors can say, you guys are being a little bit egregious right now. We got to rein you back in. Not everybody's an insurrection. Just chill out. Shouldn't they be a check on them? You would think so, but they're not at all. In fact, they were working together, colluding on this. So if they're willing to put many innocent Americans in jail, back in that prior FBI and DOJ, would that problem simply be solved because we've got Kash Patel at the top of the FBI, or because Pam Bondi's at the top of the FBI? Or is it possible that there are still some bad actors inside the FBI and inside the DOJ who are still acting in this manner, still trying to cover up for the truth of what happened on J6? They don't want their other FBI agents who were in the crowd, like Will Pope pointed out, to be identified and rooted out of the industry. They don't want their prosecutors who are acting in this way, are now hiding under cover, to be outed. And so we've got our work cut out for us, but Rand Paul is helping to facilitate that, dropping this report. And let me have him explain exactly what's going on before we dive into the report. Hear it from Rand, the man himself, on with Maria, Fox Business Today.
You released new details about your investigation into the federal government's weaponized watch listing. Documents obtained by the FBI show the Biden administration improperly placed the wife of a federal air marshal on a terrorist watch list based on unverified information. Tell us more and how wide this net has gone in terms of the Democrats spying on their political enemies.
Wide.
This was an appalling abuse of power and should be universally condemned. The reason we have to keep talking about this is we need to make sure this never happens in our government again. You had a congressional committee that was run amok. You had an administration that was run amok. You had an administration that was taking money and paying universities like George Washington University to scour through data and go out and arrest people. This particular woman was put on a watch list, the Quiet Squad's watch list, where she was harassed every time she got on a plane. Her house was surveilled, just an elaborate surveillance operation. But she was put on this watch list because of a tip from a nosy, angry neighbor who didn't like her. It turns out what the neighbor said is, I saw a picture of her. She was at the rally. Well, she was at the rally at the White House, but she was never at the Capitol. They knew this in the first couple of weeks. We've determined that they knew her geolocation, they knew by facial recognition, and they knew by every other source they had she was not in the Capitol ever. She would never set foot on the Capitol grounds, and yet for 2 years she was on this Quiet Skies program where the TSA harassed her everywhere she went. They knew her husband was a lead official privy to confidential information, and he worked for the TSA or for the air marshals, and yet they still did this to the woman. It was a horrible abuse. But it wasn't just her. Hundreds and hundreds of others were abused. I know a young man who worked off the Capitol, wasn't part of the rally, but wandered over here on the day to see the crowds, wandered into the Capitol, never interacted with any police or any people for 1 minute, 15 seconds. He was thrown to the ground in an airport because of this Biden abuse of power, thrown to the ground, arrested, put in jail, and charged, and lost his job, lost $50,000 defending himself. And this was because of the Biden abuse. And this was a peaceful young man that never touched a soul and never was involved with violence.
Yeah, and why were those people not given due process of law? Where were the senators or the representatives coming in to defend them and show up to their houses or to their jail cells when they were being abused by the FBI? There was no due process for them. They were victims of a political attack by the administration. And so Rand Paul dropped some records, and it's not just these people. It's a whole slew of people who had their lives destroyed by the Democratic Party. And so the findings got dropped today. Chairman Paul releasing additional findings from his ongoing investigation into the weaponization and the watch listing by the federal government. He got these documents from the FBI. Thank you, Kash Patel. Saying during a Senate committee hearing on Homeland Security back in September of this year, Senior Federal Air Marshal Mark Crowder testified that his wife, Christine, a Catholic school teacher, was placed on a terror watch list and had been surveilled by the FBI and the Federal Air Marshal Service for over 2 years. The FBI key findings opened the investigation into Crowder. They got a tip from a former friend, some angry psycho. Initial findings indicated negative geolocation and facial recognition and criminal history or extremist activity. They don't care. Though the FBI acknowledged a need to interview her, they claimed she illegally entered the Capitol, recommended her for watch listing, and expanded selectee status. They physically surveilled her house at least 4 times for the purpose of identifying her. Then the disgusting FBI hands it over to the disgusting DOJ, and the prosecutors are like, this case looks great. Great job. You guys are awesome. They don't even verify anything. Then they ask the FBI to do a social media analysis on her as well. 2 years into the investigation and over a month after the photo of the case, the investigation was finally closed. They harassed this woman for 2 years. Christine Janet Crowder, and here's some other lady, insider number 336. Looks like a terrorist too, walking around with a MAGA hat on. So here are the documents. They give us a timeline of exactly what went down. And this happened all across the country to many, many people. We're happy to see some evidence on this one. But an anonymous tip came in January 11th. Remember all of the sedition hunters that were trying to identify everybody? The FBI got an anonymous tip from a former friend who said, I saw her in a photo. You should arrest her. So then in June 21, after J6, the FBI files the investigation to open up their files. In the paperwork, they say, put her on a watch list, even though we have negative geolocation data for her, even though we've got no facial recognition for her, put her on a watch list because July 2nd comes by. FBI went, looked at her house, then approved the paperwork to add her to the terror watch list. That's in July. August comes around. FBI agent assigned to the case, some stupid moron somewhere, filed a July 15, 2021 notification from the Terrorist Screening Observation Unit of planned travel. The document said that she was watch listed by the FBI and should be targeted by TSA. Then we go to 2022. They go to her home again, photograph her, harass her. Then the FBI gets a video from another tipster of an individual that they believe is her exiting the Capitol. Okay, probably is this like psycho ex-friend. You can just imagine. Just keeps sending info to the FBI. Then the FBI in April 2022, they conduct physical surveillance. They try to identify her. They review more CCTV footage in April. Then the tipster goes in and is interviewed by the FBI. Tipster and their spouse tell the FBI, we saw videos of her. She was inside the Capitol. We know. That's in May. Then prosecution begins. Okay, so the FBI has this terrible case. They've got some lunatics who are like barking up the FBI, arrest this woman. So then they give it off to the DOJ, the prosecutors, the people who were supposed to make sure there actually is cause here to bring a criminal case. Disgusting DOJ picks up from the disgusting FBI. Then they say, perfect, we're going to prosecute her. We can't actually identify her through physical surveillance. No problem. We're going to go surveil her home again, wasting everybody's time. Then the FBI got a search warrant. Okay, they went and got her Facebook account via their Facebook law enforcement portal. Disgusting. Then they actually interview her. May 23, Crowder was interviewed by the FBI. She showed the agents, the FBI, the outfit that she wore on the day, and a ride share receipt showing a ride occurring at the time she was accused of being in the Capitol. I was in an Uber. You idiots. Then a confidential human source provided the FBI with a photo showing her attire back on January 6th. Then in June, finally, new evidence comes about. FBI finally closes the case. In the memo, the FBI states the reason for closing the case: bad geofence, bad facial recognition. She's got an alibi, a ride share receipt, and there's a photograph of her wearing clothes that are not consistent with the original tip. And so this woman basically had her life harassed for 2.5 years. Sick. Here's what the reports look like from our disgusting FBI Bureau of Investigation. Said, all right, we're opening up a new investigation. It's being initiated because there's a photo that says she illegally entered the building. We know where the Capitol is located. They're going to explain all the J6 stuff. Joint session underway at 2 p.m. National news and they're just copy and pasting from all the things. Now, she was identified. Crowder was identified by a tipster. Some lunatic, ex-friend hops on there, files a report, links over to a Facebook video, and says, that's her. I found her. She's in the building. Now, the initial findings here, when they open the case: geofence checks, negative. Facial recognition checks, negative. Criminal history checks, negative. They're like, well, that sucks, but we don't care. The writer reviewed the video from the Houston page. Now, we observed a white female that resembles other photos, and someone else had a phrase called, M the media. Other people is describing the scene. An open source search of her social medias reveals she had a Facebook page, and there was a photo. We found similar other people in similar outfits, similar glasses. An open source search went to her LinkedIn, went to Facebook, female, long brown hair, no prior military employment. We're going to interview her, as the video shows a person that kind of looks like her. So, of course, we could charge her with a whole slew of crimes: civil disorder, unlawful entry, rioting. And so we're going to open a case and put her on a watch list. She participated in an illegal entry. No, she didn't. She did not do it. These actions resulted in the death of a federal law enforcement officer. No, it didn't. You liars. You FBI are such lying scum. No, it didn't. Brian Sicknick died of natural causes the next day, you scum. Injuries of multiple officers and damage to the U.S. Capitol. Based on Crowder's involvement in these activities, we recommend Crowder for watch listing. I know every J6er was murdering Brian Sicknick. The Capitol Police posted on their website natural causes. So white female, other aliases, opening up a full investigation, then another report, physical surveillance, gold Toyota 4Runner, and other things. We don't need to read into the surveillance of an innocent woman, sick freaks. So then put her on the watch list, full investigation going on. Population, given name, just scraping through everything. ID, passport numbers, driver's license numbers, location, date of birth, all communication, medical list, occupation list, physical characteristics, just a full scraping of her entire identity, because some lunatic just said she might be involved in this. And the FBI was like, perfect, salivating, wanting to arrest somebody just to impact and pad their numbers. So here, another one, watch listed subject, put her on a watch list. Then the whole thing goes by. It's 70 pages of this. I think you get the point. Let's scroll down a little bit and see what else, how they close this out. So Christine Crowder was actually interviewed at her home. After being advised there were agents, she provided the following info. She says, I flew into Washington from Houston on J4, was going to attend the rally with 2 female friends, but she flew separately from them. She was unable to reserve a hotel room for 3 days and therefore reserved a different hotel. It was jammed. On the morning of J6, she woke up early, attempted to link up with her friends so they could go to the rally. Crowder was unsuccessful in reaching her friends, and Crowder assumed that her friends had already departed to go to the rally and left her alone. She became emotional at the hotel. They left me? And was unsure what to do. Crowder was approached by 2 females who were sympathetic and asked her to join them. Like, oh, well, you come with us. So Crowder, MAGA's so nice. Crowder arrived at the rally around 6 a.m. and waited there until Trump's speech began. Now, she was frustrated because the speech was supposed to start at 10 and did not begin until after 11. And it was friggin' freezing out there. Now, interviewing agents asked Crowder if she had photos of herself on J6. She said, yeah, here. I showed them a photo. She had a Trump 45 beanie on, a black jacket, white scarf with black stripes, brown Ugg-style boots on with fur. Crowder then retrieved the jacket and the scarf from the bedroom, showed them to the agents. Following the speech, again, she tried to get to her friends, began walking east on Constitution Avenue, eventually made contact with her friends, said that they're on Independence Ave. Now, Crowder tried to locate her friends, but again, was unsuccessful. Then tried to find a restaurant. It was difficult. It was so busy. The phone was nearly dead, so she stepped into a Starbucks coffee to charge her phone. While she was charging her phone, she got a headache and got tired. Thought she was going to go further down the street closer to the Capitol, but decided no. Called a Lyft passenger car, returned back to her hotel, stayed there the rest of the night. Lyft car dropped Crowder off nearby at 2:30 p.m. From there, she walked to her hotel. Then on the morning of J7, checked out of her hotel, went to Dulles Airport, boarded a plane, traveled back to Houston. Wow. FBI opened a full investigation because of the tipster. The tipster said this, redacted. And redacted. So after conducting the checks, FBI found no evidence that she definitively entered the building. Review of the video footage inside and outside did not positively identify her. Geofence query was performed on her known cell phone number, negative results. Face search on HumeInt was performed on a subject, which returned a result of possible misidentification. The team did not return any conclusive result that she was seen entering the Capitol, and so the writer interviewed her at the home. Photos were provided by her. She said, I was there in D.C., but I never stepped foot into the Capitol. So this writer was able to identify specific articles of clothing worn by her, and the clothing was inconsistent with the original tip. So one nasty tip from some psychopath liberal person is going to wreck your life. Writer also was able to view timestamps of videos and photographs on her phone. At the time Crowder was supposedly exiting the Capitol, she was elsewhere in D.C. Additionally, the writer was able to view an online receipt where she ordered a passenger car. The route of the car is viewable in the receipt, is consistent with her movement. So in light of this new evidence, we're going to close the case several years later after she's already on a watch list and harassed by the new Stasi of America, the FBI. So Christine Janet Crowder, completely innocent, harassed and almost destroyed by the FBI. And if there was, if she didn't have like this evidence, if she couldn't say, no, I've got pictures, I've got Lyft receipts, I've got these other things, she would also be prosecuted like the rest of them. So sick FBI, sick DOJ. We're asking, are these people still at the FBI? Are they still at the DOJ? What are they doing? Why did they act with such poor judgment? And if they're still there, why? Here, Cash said, what happened to her, Christine Crowder, was wrong. 2 years of surveillance, a terror watch list, no crime, no capital entry. This is exactly what went wrong after J6. Misplaced priorities. Yeah, but who dictated those priorities? Are they still there? Unchecked programs and political overreach. This FBI is focused on real threats and protecting Americans. And so, yes, the Biden FBI was terrible, but all those bad people are gone, right? So Enrique Tarrio, the man who was at the top of the target list by the DOJ, by people who are still at the DOJ, like Jocelyn Ballantyne, who's handling the J6 pipe bomber case, she was also the prosecutor that Enrique Tarrio communicated with. And he explained on a podcast, the former leader of the Proud Boys, who was not even there on January 6th, he explained that Ballantyne was offering him a sweetheart plea deal as long as he gave them something that could incriminate the president. He didn't do that because he's a man of integrity. And now he is free thanks to the pardon and the truth coming out. And the president has a request coming from Enrique Tarrio. We want some legal, lawful retribution.
Today we honor the life of Ashli Babbitt and those who lost their lives at the Capitol at the hands of Capitol Police. Retribution is what we seek. And what is retribution? Retribution doesn't mean violence. It means accountability. And until we don't see the accountability against those that weaponize the government and physically assaulted peaceful protesters, we will not stop. We will be here every January 6th. We will be here every 4th of July. Today we honor...
All right, so Enrique Tarrio and more J6ers there today, remembering the 5th anniversary of the Fedsurrection. Still a lot of accountability that we need to see, and we're going to continue to demand it as we honor the people who were abused by our federal government, who were there in their right manner to protest and object to a stolen election, which the CIA was involved in, and the FBI and the DOJ and the rest of them. So we'll keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thanks for joining and subscribing as we do. It's been a great stream. If you're just joining us, quick recap on what we talked about today. We started out with the White House coming down and obliterating the actual hoax of the J6 scam. And of course, Trump urged calm. There was leaked Pelosi revealing security lapses. Ashli Babbitt was murdered in cold blood. We covered all of the timeline today, and the FBI entrapment and more. Went through a whole litany of things, including the murderer of Ashli Babbitt, in our opinion, and the fact that he apparently runs a daycare called Byrd's Family Daycare there in Brandywine, Maryland. Interesting things there. Don't know if there's any, nefariousness or fraud there, but it's curious with all the other daycares that we're talking about lately. So internet sleuths will continue on that one. Apparently someone deleted the webpage, and we've got Judicial Watch confirming for us that they actually installed Michael Byrd at the Presidential Inn as a distinguished visitor and paid for his living for many months on end after he killed Ashli. Now, question is, can anything be done about him or any of these other bad actors who were there at the scene? The Biden pardon, which was auto-penned, by the way, was not including cops who did not testify to the committee. All those other cops are fair game, so we'll see if anything happens. PolitiFact and Reuters both confirming no pardon for Michael Byrd, and Ashli Babbitt's mom still demanding some accountability for what happened to her daughter. Then we talked about this American school teacher called Christine Crowder, who was also abused, along with many others, put on no-fly lists. Americans were spied on, subpoenaed. We got social media attacks. We were demonetized, strikes for harmful and dangerous misinformation, all the things. It was a full-on attack. Rand Paul got some new records, disclosed those for us. We read through this and explained what got to see how an FBI basically attacked an innocent woman for 2 years, put her on a bunch of no-fly lists or terrorist watch lists and all the things. And now we want accountability. So does Enrique Tarrio. And so, happy January 6th, my friends. Happy Insurrection Day. We will continue to cover the greatest hoax, I think, of our lifetimes. You can maybe say, depending on your philosophy, depending on what you think about other things, maybe there is something bigger. But from our perspective, they were there assigned a duty to secure the most important building on the planet at that time. They couldn't do it. They didn't want to do it. How come? Why was the CIA there? How come we had pipe bombs that were conveniently dropped and then pulled all the officers away? How come Capitol Hill police officers got orders to let other protesters in before they charged them all with trespass? We want answers, and hopefully we get them. All right, but now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting our show and joining us on the day, and for subscribing. We'd love to have you back here when we come back tomorrow. And let's see what you have to say about this. I saw some great donos come in, and thank you so much for sending these in. Thank you for supporting our work here and joining our community. Oh yeah, the QAnon shaman. What's going on? Jacob Chansley's in the house. I heard he's running for governor of Arizona, which is going to be interesting. All right, so Jacob Chansley for governor. Shout out. We got the Frog Feeder says, rest in peace to Doug LaMalfa. We saw that this morning on the members only stream. Yeah, rest in peace. Someone, Bonnie, looked it up and said that it may have been a brain aneurysm plus a heart attack. So terrible, terrible news. Prayers up for his family, and may he rest in peace. And also, it's not good for the house numbers. Rick D this morning. He's like, Doug Malfa died. That brings the house numbers down to whatever it is. It was hilarious. Hey, Born a Hawkeye says Pelosi asked for 50 calibers around the Capitol. Did she? I don't remember that. Election was stolen. No doubt about it. Hey, Rob, can you put a warning on the thumbnail to warn me if this is good to hear during a workout? I want to lift weights, not throw them. Just saying. Yeah. So it's like, if it's a little too agitating, then your workout, you might just bench press right the barbell right through the ceiling. Well, that's good. I mean, even if it is that rage inducing, just add some weight to the bar. Just bump those numbers up there. Severus, good to see you. Hopefully you had a great workout. Man, I had a good workout today. Yeah, I did biceps today. My biceps were neglected over our 10 days in DC. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, Born a Hawkeye. Elon buying Twitter saved freedom. It was a huge factor. No doubt about that, Born a Hawkeye. So many of these things I don't think we ever would have learned about were it not for Twitter. Think about the Twitter files. Remember that? We got some good news when that happened. A lot of extra voices back in the fold that were previously suppressed. So shout out to Elon. We're grateful for that. E. Texley. Finally, we have a billionaire. You know, the other side is all these billionaires. Like, we got a billionaire. It's great. Hey, E. Texley. Has Nancy suffered a stroke? Look at how she doesn't use her left arm. She has always gestured more with her right upper extremity, but that almost looks like a lateral neglect of her left arm and hand. Gonna have to see more. So we got our, are you like a neurosurgeon or something, E. Texley? Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe. I think a lot of when she speaks, I think she's stroking out in general. So I don't really know. Chubby Stubby, what's going on? It's just a shame they lost all the radio recordings from the Secret Service and the Capitol Hill Police in the upgrade. I know. And the secrets, like the deleted text messages, and the J6 committee also deleted a bunch of evidence because, well, why should they preserve it? They don't need to. Their job is done. Weird how that happened, right? So strange. Big coincidence. You're right, Chubby. I wonder how that happened. The planets aligned. Hey, Alan is the bestest. What's up? Alan Harkin in the house. Man, good to see you, Alan. Over on Locals, says Robert, thank you for your faithful, continuous, and informative walkthroughs of the current legal issues of the day. It is a true talent to take complicated legalities and make them understandable by the not so very bright like myself. Alan, I think you're as sharp as they come, my friend. You found this community and you're here. So you can't get much better than that. Alan, thank you for being here, man. Such a nice compliment and a nice dono. We're grateful to have you. Always appreciate the compliments. We try to have fun here, and honestly, we couldn't do it without you. Like, you know, a lot of the show is organic and develops around our conversation. So we appreciate it, Alan. You're the man. Thank you for being here and for the dono. Hey, Somali Tamali says, the Democrats love using the military against Americans for gun control. Yeah, the 1993 Waco siege involved the FBI and the use of armored vehicles loaned from Fort Hood, including 910 Bradley fighting vehicles, 2 M728 combat engineer vehicles, and reportedly 2 M1 Abrams tanks. The fire and the cause is debated. About 76 Branch Davidians died in the fire, including 25 children, over 30 women. No federal officials were impeached or indicted. Investigations were I know it was a horrible thing, what they did. Yeah. The people who did this want you to be mad at this, man. Shout out to lectern leader, Adam Johnson. Yeah, they went in, man. They torched those people. You can see it on the video. And they're pumping gas or whatever into the building. You see the tanks go in there. You see the sparks getting lit. They were mad. They were mad. And yeah, it was a horrific thing, man. Shout out. And we don't encourage, you know, whatever they were alleging was going on in that house. But our government can't murder our own people. Want you to be mad at this, man. Waco, horrific. And that was Janet Reno, Bill Clinton. Not a Fed. Newsom is defying the federal requirement to stop giving CDLs to illegals. It's time to give Newsom some of the Maduro love. Extradite his butt out of Cali to a DC prison. I know. I mean, they're pretty good at it. Like Tim Walz, Newsom. Let's go round them up. Helicopters. You can get through California air defenses, probably, I would guess. Hey, Loose the dog. Can Mrs. Crowder sue the informant? That's a good question. Yes. I don't know if she'd wait. Like, so the answer is you can sue anybody you want. I don't know if she knows who it is. But yeah, she could sue them. I'm trying to think like what the claim would be. Yeah, maybe like there's some claims, like the one that comes to mind is like intentional infliction of emotional distress or something, right? So she's trying to like attack her friend. I don't know what kind of evidence she would have, right? The FBI was like the defendant would have a lot of defenses. The FBI was soliciting tips. She had a good faith basis to make it wasn't out of maliciousness. So yeah, I don't know. I think her claim might be stronger against the government from like gross negligence for identifying an innocent person and harassing them for 2 years. Hey, Hoon is here. Hoon333 in the house. Good to see you, Hoon. Welcome aboard as our newest supporter. Great to see you. We had a great members only stream this morning. Jipped in on President Trump's speech. Had some fun commenting over that and talked about Maduro, more Maduro stuff. And played a clip from a Venezuelan who said if things work out down there, they might go home. Ah. Hey, King of Biltong, kick off your 2026 health journey. Get some delicious, tasty Biltong from Biltong USA. B vitamins, iron, zinc, creatine, yes, all the things. BiltongUSA.com. And if you use code Robert, you'll even save 10% at checkout. Yummy. Chubby Stubby says, would this qualify as malicious towards the school teacher. I think the current FBI should open an investigation into the snitches, but they can find something. Turnabout's fair play. Yeah, well, so like the thing with government employees is they all have qualified immunity, right? So they all will say, no, I was just following orders. I was just doing my job. And that's what they've said repeatedly. We've seen the lawsuits here. FBI agents fired for kneeling. They're just, no, we were going to die if we didn't kneel. You see them kneeling with the big smiles on their faces, like just thrilled as can be that BLM is marching through the streets. No, we're going to die. So they all had to kneel, but they all will say, it's within the purview of their operation, their job, and they've got qualified immunity to execute the laws. So they'll defend themselves. Not a Fed says, I wonder how many weapons Byrd has in that home and daycare. Sounds risky if he's around. If there are kids anyways, he should be a felon. How many incidents did he have again before his ultimate sin of shooting Ashli Babbitt? Says not a Fed. Yeah, I don't know how many total. I just remember the toilet ordeal where he left his gun in the stall. Genius. Back in my day, good to see you. Hey, this old guy. Hey, great show, Rob. Thanks for all your hard work. Thank you, this old guy. Yeah, we wanted to pay good tribute today to the J6 scam, and thank you for joining us as we do. Thank you. We appreciate that. Says, great show, Rob. Thanks for your hard work. Thank you for the dono, this old guy. Back in my day, is that this old guy? He's much nicer than them, but he also has a little snark to him too, so he's kind of like them. Hey, NY Renal says, Paula Babbit, remember the former CIA guy? So Kimberly Cheadle was the Secret Service director. She resigns. Paula Babbit, they shoved in there. Then he blamed the local cops for Butler. He's like, I can't believe they didn't do their jobs. Of what? Protecting the president? Idiot. Was allowed to retire, but he approved Arctic Frost and also the FBI Catholic memo. Am I thinking of the same guy? I thought Paula Babbit was Secret Service. Maybe that's a different guy. Who was the other? Oh, no. That was Ronald Rowe. I got him totally confused. Paula Babbit, that's right. FBI. I was thinking of Ronald Rowe. Remember the other guy? Yeah, okay, so you're talking about the other dude. He was also behind the J6 investigation. He was allowed to retire and the House has not done one thing about it. No, nobody's doing anything about anything. Comey's gotten away with it all, so far. There's a grand conspiracy that's being worked up in Florida. We'll see what that drops. But yeah, things are pretty quiet right now. Doesn't mean that they're going to be quiet forever, but we're just noticing the silence of new indictments. Miss Kayla, I keep account locks for hate speech on Twitter. So your account is still locked because of your hate speech? Yeah, we got, several strikes for harmful and dangerous and then vaccine misinfo and all the things. After J6, they demonetized the whole channel. Tried to destroy us, but we're here. Hey, TW Wright in the house. How does the U.S. government charge Maduro with possession of machine guns and destructive devices in a different country in his indictment? So I'd say, I think that we read through the indictment. What was that, yesterday? What day is it? What year is it? It was conspiracy, right? They were overt acts in furtherance of a conspiracy. So it was like conspiracy to possess. Was it actual possession for Maduro? Like, did they have him with actual possession in the jurisdiction of the United States? Or I thought when we read it yesterday, I could be mistaken. I thought that it was an overt act in furtherance of a conspiracy. So it's not the actual possession. It's doing the things in furtherance of a conspiracy, furthering the ultimate conspiracy, which was the narco drug trafficking. I believe that's how we read it. But you might be right. I think there was also a separate charge there. But it's a good question. We'll recap that when we cover Maduro's next proceeding. I'm sure he's going to file a bunch of things soon. Hey, this old guy, thank you for that. And we got new membos joining us. Grab the morning stream, my friends, from this morning. We had a good one. Elf is here. Elf55 bringing in 10 membos. We got Trinoculus. Doan is here. Chris Style is man. We got USA #1. Matthew Larkins is here. We got 2 Cents Lopez. Welcome. Avatar of the Sith. Carol Morrison. Dog Backwards. In the House is God. And Charvan Hefner joining us, courtesy of Elf55. Great to see you, new friends, new membos. Thank you for becoming membos. We have a great members-only community. We go live in the mornings and on Saturdays. And we'd love it if you joined us. But now, my friends, let's see what's cooking over on Locals, see what kind of comments we got percolating over there. Then we'll see what's up on X and then call it a day. Sergeant Bob is here. He said, as a retired LEO, former law enforcement officer, retired, I stand with innocent officers like Derek Chauvin. But I also want bad police like the out-of-control Byrd prosecuted. In my 7 years in the crime scene unit of the Portland, Oregon PBID division, I attended many officer-involved shooting incidents. Speaking from my experience, and many of you have met Sergeant Bob. He's been all over the place. He came to our inauguration watch party and more. Speaking from experience, there was no justification for the use of deadly force in the killing of Ashli Babbitt. It was a typical PD cover-up. Byrd needs to be in prison. Chauvin needs to be freed. From Sergeant Bob, so you know it's true. Good comment, Sergeant. Thanks for your input on that. We appreciate our former LEOs out there. Hardened Patriot. Seen this same day, the California Republican died as well. GOP rep Jim Byrd and his wife remain hospitalized after a hit-and-run accident. Oh my goodness. Republicans are just dropping like flies out there. That's not good at all. Prayers up for Jim Byrd and his wife, apparently hit and run. Are they taking out Republicans? Duck Fat. Hey, it's my 13-month anniversary, Duck Fat. The baby is doing fine, good. But the daycare service we set up is booming. Amazing. Yeah, everybody with a watcher baby here started daycare, you know. We rounded up around 255 fake Gouveia babies. And are raking in around 255 million per month. Hey, I mean, if the Somalis are doing it, you know. Currently looking for watcher babysitters, interested in making a little side cash. Sign yo babies up now. Yeah, for the Gouveia Watcher Baby Leering Daycare Center. Or Leering. Hilarious, Duck. Don't commit mass fraud of $9 billion, okay, if we have to say it. Duck Fat, hilarious. 255 fake Gouveia. I know, man. If they came after us here, we hand out babies here like it ain't nothing. All these, yeah, have a baby, it's new babies, you know. It's true. Yeah, don't blame me, okay? If you go, you know, if you Rob said we have 7 babies together, you know, so we needed health care, you know. That wasn't legal. It's not legal advice. All right, Duck Fat, thank you for that. Hilarious comment. Hilarious comment. And we appreciate that. And once again, Alan, thank you for that nice donut, my man. Very generous of you. Okay, a couple other comments. We'll see what's going on X. James Burlow says, J6 is worse than Kent State, which wasn't intentional. 4 protesters were killed by vicious police brutality on J6, and the violence was planned by the Democrats, Pelosi. Same time the bomb was discovered. Yeah, it was very convenient. Questions about when the bombs were placed. We saw that the one lady, I think her name was like Carlin Younger, she discovered the bombs at the RNC. She said that they were dropped after noon, after 12 noon on J6. We also had other questions from Barry Loudermilk about why the Kamala Harris advance team didn't discover the bomb. So was it there when they were there? The dogs didn't alert. So how come that happened before Kamala pulled up, the VP elect? Very strange. Yeah, so 4 people died. You could say, you know, their response would be that 2 of those guys died of like heart attacks, right? Or, you know, natural causes, which you could say is debatable. But yeah, Boylan, we saw her getting beaten on photos, get beaten on video. And Ashli Babbitt, we saw shot and killed. Then they reversed everything. They said Brian Sicknick was murdered by the police, by the Capitol rioters. But the truth is, he died of natural causes. The Capitol Police website even confirms that. We've pulled that up many times too. So they just lied about everything because that's just what they do. They just lie and cheat and steal, and it's disgusting. We're sick of it. All right, so let's see what's cooking on X, my friends. Then we'll call it a day. It has been a beautiful stream. Very glad to be here and with you. Couple of comments on X. We see what's going on, Neuro D. Check us out on Rumble too. Yeah, thanks for checking us out over there and following us over on Rumble. Great chat over there. We got, let's see who's cooking over there on the Rumbles. Who's over there? Duck Fat's over there. Neuro D's over there. What's up, Jody? Ever Loving Lindy in the house. We got J-Ma, Ray Dev in the house. Slightly Salty, welcome. Dog Digger's over there. Good to see Timothy. Great chat over on the Rumbles. Barb says, was the daycare operating while he was living in the presidential suite? His pet was with him. Were the parents notified about firearms in violation of the home's occupant? Yeah, good questions. All good questions, Barb. So hopefully there's an investigation into that. We find out what's going on with that daycare. Yeah, we really don't know. Brian James says, you are completely shadow banned on YouTube. That makes sense. Yeah, thank you for telling us. That sounds right. Yeah. It's an uphill battle on YouTube for us, but we're here for it. Satellite Boy, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing the show, my friends. If you could, just send a text message to everybody in your contact list in your cell phone, all of them. Slight ask. Thank you. Here, this one came in. Interesting comment. All right, so we'll leave that one alone. Yeah, we've got interesting one from Satellite Boy. The presidents, the star witnesses, there was a bunch of debauchery in the whole Trump attack vector. No doubt about that. Good to see our friends on X. Let's see if we got a couple of comments on the J6 video that we posted. Yep, Starfleet is here. What's up, Nuclear MAGA? Man, it's good to see everybody on X. All right, so it has been just a beautiful stream. Happy Tuesday, my friends. Happy Insurrection Day. Great to be with you. Thanks for going through some of the history with us. And former LEO, another former LEO in the house, says, Byrd is a stain on law enforcement that can never be erased, and I wonder what would have happened if the races of the suspect and the victim were reversed. Great question. Yeah. What if it was a white cop who shot, well, I mean, you saw a white cop arrest a drug addict thief in Minneapolis in the George Floyd case. Was it Minneapolis? And they, of course, burned down the whole country. So we would know how that would go if it were reversed. It wouldn't be good. But when it's a white woman who's being shot and killed, then it's all just like, whatever. Let's put him in the presidential palace. Let's give him the distinguished visitors suite because he did such a great job. Pretty sick. But we're going to be here continuing to call it out, and we won the election. And so we got to keep the pressure on to get this truth out, and we are grateful to have you here joining us as we do. So we'll pause here for the afternoon. We're coming back tomorrow to get into it again. I think your boy is going to be on with Brianna Mello at InfoWars tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Arizona time, 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning. So if you want to catch that out, come check that out. Then we'll have our member stream right after that. And we're going to have a great week. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful new year. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to our amazing mods and meme smiths who mod the fort down, keeping things nice and orderly around there on these live streams. Big thank yous go out to Donut Mind Me in the house. Muffin Rando. Thank you to John. We got K Bean and Carrie B. We got Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Just Rhonda, Geegum Geegum, and Elliot all helping out around here. Grateful for you. And thank you, my friends, for being here, for subscribing, for liking the video on the way out. We'll call it a day. We will, though, be back tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. We brought the heat with every chatting line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through